Joining us now, our Monday NHL Insider from the Bob McCowan podcast, the former executive producer of Hockey Night in Canada, Mr. John Shannon. How are you?
Happy Monday, boys. I'm good, thank you.
Blake just got back from Toronto. He tells me it's like 24 degrees and
it was
sunny there.
It was.
We thought we had a pretty good autumn going on, and then
I was in Edmonton for the week, and it was minus 15 and snowing when I left, and when I got home, it was plus 21. So,
yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. The Stampeders left sort of midday Saturday for the playoff game here. Bad call. That's when the snow started de-icing delays. Those who left in the morning got here fine, but yeah, Alberta under it. And the Canucks under it too, John. Did you catch the game Saturday? Another blown lead here, man.
Another blown lead. Yeah. And, you know, and I think when we all saw them score that third goal, we said, okay, good. You know, that's what everybody always thinks they need. You know, they need that third goal. And now it's not the dreaded 2-goal lead. It's now becoming the dreaded 3-goal lead. But, you know, this is everything about this hockey club below the dots. You know, teams like Nashville are tenacious. They will never give up. You know, even when you think they're out of it, they have such talent and character. I must say, and character. I mean, John Hines could have pulled. UC Saros didn't. That was a message to his team that, you know, you're going to fight your way out of this. And they just never gave up on the puck. It speaks to defensive inadequacies, inexperience. And unfortunately, Thatcher Demko, you know, as much as I think he's still a great goalie, not making the save this year that he made so many times last year.
Yep. Had you heard of Jordan Gross before the game?
Honestly?
12 NHL games.
No.
2 goals, college free agent, 27 years old. I mean, it's unreal.
I tell you what, I hadn't heard of it. I had not heard of him Saturday, and I was with the team Tuesday in Edmonton. That's how much I had not heard of him.
Yeah.
I had to go and check my list, and then I actually emailed somebody inside the Predators. Was he here on Tuesday?
Yeah. No, I looked at it, I was like, who is that guy? Never heard of that guy. Okay, 12 NHL games. Ottawa tomorrow, Montreal Wednesday, and then Toronto, Boston, and Buffalo. It's quite an Eastern trip here. Do you think the Canucks season hangs in the balance here? Do you think this trip is going to determine a thing or two about the Canucks and how they go forward this year?
I don't yet, you know, but I've been saying this all along, and I did expect them to be better at home, and they were a bit better at home and winning the 3 of 4 and now the 3 of 5. But it's interesting to see that, you know, there's a lot of catcalls now occurring in Ottawa for DJ Smith, who the Senators have lost 5 in a row. There's lots of pressure there. Montreal is still a great story. There'll be no Josh Anderson in the lineup, I don't think. I think they still that'll be the second game of his suspension, which might help. And listen, there's enough talent in this team, and I think we saw that. Say, you know, the Canucks could go into Ottawa and win, and Montreal and win, and then, you know, then it's going to be hard. Toronto and Boston. I mean, Toronto obviously has fixed itself, I think, even though they don't have really any goaltending of note. Boston is the best team in hockey, even though they're going through a soap opera. And Buffalo's a great story. So you know, could they go 0-5? Yeah, they could. But could they go 3-2? Yeah, they could. I think if this team goes 3-2 on this road trip, that's an absolute bonus. And there is enough talent to go 3-2 on this team, on this trip.
Alas, we've asked you these kinds of questions way too many times.
Yeah.
But ultimately, you have to. You know, as a management team, maybe as an owner too, you know, feel it out as to just the trajectory of the team, the trajectory of the business. Like when do you fear you're hitting rock bottom here with no bounce? And you know, at what point do you have to make greater change, not only for the sake of making change, but to provide some direction for the team a little bit? You know, blowing 5-6 leads in the early going of a season, multi-goal leads, John. This is having an effect on the players. You can feel it, you can see it, and they're starting to say it now. They're saying the quiet parts out loud after the games.
And I mean, I two things. First of all, I don't think I've ever seen a start to a season like this with so many blown leads. With so many times where up 2-0 or up by 2 goals and up by 3 goals, and no lead is safe. I've never seen it. I honestly haven't.
Yeah.
The other thing is I as much as everybody says change needs to be, it's calling for change if change has to be made. I think they've been trying. I think they've been trying since they got here. I think that whether it's the small tweaks or the big tweaks or what was supposed to happen in the off season, and they're just, their assets are not really ones that other teams want. And the cap is tying them up on the other side. I mean, I think we all knew that Ethan Bear wasn't going to come to town and be Bobby Orr. He's done okay. But at the same time, he's still only a 5'6" defenseman, and you're not gonna turn the tide with a guy that's a 5'6" defenseman.
Again, I may have asked you this already this season. Is JT Miller tradable right now? He's a point per game player coming off a 99-point season. Is JT? You say that most teams don't want what the Canucks have. Are you telling me that nobody wants JT Miller? And I'm prepared to hear the answer be yes, by the way. I'm not scoffing. I'm wondering.
I actually said when he re-signed, I actually said that it was a good move either way. Sign him, keep him, make him part of the core, or, sign him and he has a good season, has the point a game as you talk about, Blake. And then somebody out there at the deadline says, you know what, we like what JT Miller brings, and not only that, he's cash control. He's cap controllable for a long period of time. And now that the cap is going up allegedly next year, you'd have to think that that hasn't changed any of that attitude. I mean, if you're talking about assets, I mean, he has to be at the top of the list.
Well, no, Ethan Bear isn't Bobby Orr. That's Jordan Gross.
Right.
That's right. Yes, that's right.
Best you can tell, what happened in Boston with this Mitchell Miller business?
Well, so here, let's go back just a few days when I read the tweet that the Bruins had signed Mitch Miller. I had to really think who he was again. I had to be reminded he was the kid that Arizona discounted after all the issues that he had as a 14-year-old. Terrible, horrendous, awful issues.
I'll interrupt for a second, John.
Yeah.
You know what I had? I had the which one of the scandals? That's what went through my head. Which one of the scandals was he? I knew it was a scandaled pick, but that's the problem with hockey right now. I had to inquire in my own brain. Which one of the scandals was he?
Yeah. Well, in the game of hockey, it's something that they're trying to fight through. And I have friends in Boston that work and they're actually texting me saying, what should I say about this? And I said, well, first of all, I believe in second chances. I think we all deserve second chances. Put that on the shelf for now. But I certainly hope the Bruins have done their due diligence. And that was, I mean, I could show you 15 texts, the same thing. Have the Bruins done their due diligence? Have they done it? Have they done their due diligence within their own organization? Did they do it with the NHL? Did they do it with the families, both families? Did they do it with the player? Did they do it with the agent? And the answer obviously is no, they didn't. They didn't do any of it. And now, Cam Neely, who spoke this morning in Boston, is having to take every bit of criticism and be humble about it because it's on his watch, and Don Sweeney's on his watch, and the hockey ops guys are on his watch. And so it will be interesting to see what happens internally at the Bruins. When Nick Foligno, who, I wondered of Nick Foligno's value to the Bruins as a player, and he's been okay this year. But Nick Foligno so eloquently put it Saturday is that it bothered him and he shouldn't be in the room. And that was a message that I obviously did not get through to the Bruins from their own team. And then they obviously did not get the message from Mr. Bettman when he talked in Tampere about how this is unacceptable.
Yeah, you don't often hear the commissioner speak in those sorts of terms towards you could see you didn't have to hear his tone to understand where Gary was at.
Well, here's
on this signing.
I can see his frustration. I can see his frustration because of exactly what Blake said. Which scandal? And, Chicago, Hockey Canada. I'm
Montreal.
Yeah. Logan Mailloux. They have been diligent. The league has, and Gary's people have. Kim Davis have been diligent in trying to frame the game better and trying to get information out there better and on how to manage these types of things. And for the one or two steps they go forward with, every one of these is 3 steps back. And I could certainly see that frustration on him. He's trying to change the culture. He is trying to change the culture. But, when the teams do this, they're not helping any of it. And it certainly has to be frustrating for him. I mean, he's there in Finland to talk about the global game. He's there in Finland to revel in Patrick Laine and Rantanen and all the other great Finns that have ever played in the National Hockey League. And this is what he gets asked about. It must drive him crazy at times.
I mean, the timing, you're quite right, couldn't be worse with the commissioner doing a rare press availability internationally. Yeah. And you're talking about a prospect who, let's face it, probably will never play an NHL game, right? Like, even if they signed him, there's he wasn't a sure bet to make the league. And sure enough, it's the story of the weekend.
Well, in fact, today I actually rolled my eyes. There was a reporter at the press conference in Boston and said, what kind of player is he? And the answer is, it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter. We're beyond that now. And we have, the game is trying to look inward and fix itself. And it needs all the help it can get. And things like this don't help.
It's been a couple weeks since your book, Evolve or Die, came out. Yeah. It's been the response. Yeah.
Well, nobody.
I see people tweeting about it, so that's good news.
Nobody texts me or phones me and says, "Boy, it was bad."
That's nice. That's always nice.
Well, you're full of it. You don't know what you're talking about. But listen, it was Matt, you're a much better and longer career as a writer than I ever will have. And there are days that it was a labor of love, and there are other days it was a labor. What I tried to do was tell some stories that I think people who like the game and enjoyed Hockey Night in Canada would find some fine little tidbits that they could enjoy and grasp onto, and then give an idea of some of the truly, in my opinion, some of the great people that I worked with in the game that made that and those people do make the game great. Despite what's going on in and around, the Mitch Millers of the world. There are some people that have affected me and affected the way how we watch the game on television and in the arena. And this was my way of giving them a little bit of tribute.
Well, based on everything we just talked about with Mitch Miller, my goodness, the title of the book is more pertinent to the sport of hockey than ever before.
Evolve
Blake,
or Die.
Yeah. Well, it's not just biographical. There are some leadership stories in there, how to manage crisis, how to manage people, how I learned to manage people, because I wasn't great at the beginning. I may not be great now, but I'm better. And how you always had to be open-minded because the world has changed so much. And I do think I'm open-minded that way. And I think that's one of the reasons why people keep phoning me and asking me to do things, is because I have changed with the times. I mean, the world, I think I wrote it in the book, I grew up in an analog world and I live in a digital one. And you have to understand that. I like talking about history of the game, but I don't really like saying, well, when I played or when I did this, because it doesn't really matter.
Do you tell the story about the baby blues?
Yeah. There's a few stories in there about that, about how proud we were. How proud we were. Yeah.
I need to know who decided we're going to wear these baby blue jackets on Hockey Night.
Oh, that was Ralph Mellanby.
Well, the orange.
That was the great Ralph.
The
Mellanby.
orange was damn good too.
Yeah.
How
No,
did you
that
decide
wasn't-
between
that
the
was
orange and
That was CBC, and by the
CBC.
way, we called them
Yeah.
melon. They weren't called orange; they were called melon.
they were melon?
Oh,
Melon.
melon.
Mm.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Cantaloupe.
Cantaloupe. Yes, right. And Ralph basically, I mean, imitation is the greatest form of flattery, right? So ABC had already gone to the Yellow Jackets. A wide world of sports and the such. So and I think that was the whole concept of the rebranding of the show with the stick in the puck logo and the baby blue jackets was in the early 70s when Ralph had been working so closely with ABC on Olympics and other events.
Who decided sports commentators would go gaudy, right? Like they tend to be bigger people. Let's put them in powder blue, baby blue.
was a
Let's put
flamboyant
them in
time.
yellow.
It was a flamboyant time.
Wow. I saw Aikman and Buck wearing the yellows last week.
Disco
Oh
was
my
big. Come on, everybody was going big. Everybody was going big.
Yes, I guess.
Every generation has theirs. Go Google Hayward Hale Bruin, and he was like that in the 50s. And part of our business is to get noticed.
No, I totally understand. Totally understand. So let's grab their attention.
Put it out there, baby.
because
Put it out there.
Everyone will have that moment of, good God, what are they wearing?
Well, and the other thing,
marvelous stuff.
The other thing is, I know you got to go, but the other thing is that if you put them all in the same jacket, then some guys will look better than they were going to in the first place.
That's true. Save them from themselves.
Exactly.
The NHL had the glowing puck. You put the talent in those Blazers, you got the glowing schmucks. I mean, that's.
Hey, I want to see a couple of the BC Lions travel in orange Blazers for the Big West final game.
Yeah.
We're a football town again, John. You might have seen.
I think I sang the song twice last night. So.
Attaboy. Thank you for this, sir. Until next Monday.
Cheers.